Welcome to the Alphagenix Podcast, where every week we talk to incredible guests from around the world of biohacking, well-being, men's health, and more. Here's your host, co-founder of Alphagenix, Ross Tompkins.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome today's guest. We have Phil Roberton from the Flawed Hero Movement. Phil, welcome to the show.
Ross, thank you so much. And firstly, thank you for saying my surname correctly. There's not many Robertsons in the world, and I've spent the last 42 years correcting people that there is not an S in Roberton. So thank you.
Oh, no problem. I get H's and P's in my name all the time, so I get Thumpkins quite often. So I can empathise.
Thank you.
Well, the first time you reached out to us at Alphagenix, I heard your story. It was a really powerful one. So really pleased to have you on here today to share that. But I guess, like all stories or journeys, let's start at the beginning. So who is Phil Roberton, and then what is the Flawed Hero Movement? What is your passion?
Wow. Where do we go with this? So I'm a wellness professional. I think I used to be a fitness professional, but I think in the last couple of years specifically, I think wellness supersedes fitness. I think foundations of health are really, really important. The Flawed Hero Movement goes back to probably about 2017, 2018. My daughter, she was 8 at the time. She, at the school pickups, her teacher said to me, "Mr. Robertson, can I have a word with you, please?" I said, "Of course." She said, "We've just done a PSHE lesson." It was a personal development lesson. And the subject was all about us all living longer in life. And the likelihood is that we'd get cancer in our lifetimes. So I paused thinking that's quite a heavy subject, but okay, I'll leave it there for an 8-year-old. But basically, Molly put her hand up in the air and said, "Miss, I won't get cancer. My daddy won't let me." And it's quite a hard-hitting statement, you're right. That it made me feel a certain way. I was like, well, that's awesome that my daughter feels that way. You know, our children, for those of us that are lucky enough to have them, look at us like we're heroes. But I had to pull her to one side and say, "Darling, there's things in life I can help you with and protect you from. There's certain things that I can't." So it just made me think for a long period of time that we've got an ability to be heroes in life, but we're not perfect. And my daughter knows that. You know, we're not broken. We don't need fixing, but we are flawed. We're not perfect. And I think it's not being stuck in a place of where our flaws are our story. We can use them to inspire us. And I think life is about moving forward. So this Flawed Hero concept came up about 5-6 years ago. I've parked it. It's only in the last couple of years, it's really starting to gravitate and make sense to me that we need to get people together, exercising and talking and moving through life better. So the first event I'm going to be doing is on the 21st of April next year. It's a virtual London Marathon. I've worked alongside the London Marathon for the last 15 years and probably got more runners on the start line than any human in the last decade. So I work with a number of charities and close to 2,000 London Marathon runners every year. So it's an event I know very, very well. It's not a running event, it's a life coaching event. So it's looking at the other aspects of health and wellness. So the event I want to do it's all around men's mental health this one. So I want a collection of 100 men doing the event virtually, meeting up at midnight and having that race completed, an official finisher's medal around the neck before the race has even started. So I want, it's not just about the event, it's people signing up now and being part of the process, being process driven, being supported, having a community of men that get it, that want to improve their sleep and improve their nutrition and potential alcohol consumption and have a place where it's safe to talk. So that's what it's about. Essentially, it's a movement of people picking events, getting a collection of people together, doing that event to support and do it for a charity. That's it. So this is all about men's mental health. It's also supporting a charity called It's Never You, which supports parents of terminally ill children. So it's a fantastic charity, which was born through the London Marathon. Actually, a guy ran it 9 days after his son died. And I've got the image in my mind of him crossing that finishing line. So for me, it's taking people through a process. I want as many men as possible. 21st of April. So anyone that wants to get involved or talk it through, just get in touch with me. And I want this event not for the runners. It's for someone thinks they can't do it. They're not capable of doing it. And I can guarantee that they can. So in a long-winded way, that's where I'm at right now. So, yeah.
I love that. As your story gave me goosebumps, actually, imagining my daughter when she was younger saying something like that, and how it makes you feel, I guess, as a parent, but probably as a male parent as well. We have these, I guess, roles, whether it's society, whether it's deeper than that, whether it's anything else, but it's to be like the protector, the rock, the one that looks after, provides security for everyone. And yeah, that's a incredible story that you shared, so thank you. Tell us a bit more about the work that you do. So you're empowering men to go on this journey to try and show them they're capable of more, which I love. It's very much aligned with what we talk about as well. And then how do you help people? You mentioned diet, you mentioned exercise there, but what's your role in this?
So like I said, I work with lots of marathon charity runners. So years ago, I used to work at London Marathon before that sports science background. It was 2008, and a charity contacted me in March saying, our trainer has let us down. Could you come talk to our runners, please? They're running the London Marathon next month. Can you come and talk to them? So of course, went down to the embankment. It was for the RNLI. I was on their boat. I said, hey guys, welcome. You've got a marathon next month. How can I help? And back then it was bad knee, bad back, just all these problems were hit. And I was like, okay, probably need to go and see someone. Right? And that was about as helpful as I could possibly be. And I started looking at the stewardship that charities back then and now were doing. And it was to get a runner to sign up, maybe October, November time for an April London Marathon. They'd give them a generic 16-week training plan written by really good running coaches for people who love running, which isn't typically the London Marathon clientele. They'd give them a paper sponsorship form, a running vest, and off you go, raise us £1,500. And that was the stewardship. And the dropout rates were typically 20-25%. People that would sign up 6 months prior wouldn't make the start line. And that bothered me. That number bothered me. So I worked with a particular charity, and we brought training right back. So we started training advice in October time. So I came up with a concept called Preformance, which is all about preparing the body to perform. So it's all about foundations of health. What good can you do before the January window? Let's look at your health at a basic level. Let's look at your nutrition, health before performance. Let's look at your mobility. Let's look at your strength, all the other aspects of health. And over the last decade, I've just kept on growing this. As science has come out and there's other modalities and protocols, I just kept developing this Preformance brand. So the charities that I work with, and dropout rates would go single figure digits. So we've gone from 20% plus down to 8.9%, 5.4%. My dropout rates are lower than my competitors, because I understand this isn't a run. It's a life coaching event. It's a glorified fun run where you're changing your life through showing up, and you're changing the lives of others through fundraising. That's what the London Marathon is. It's the biggest single day fundraising event. It's the biggest single day therapy session. So my goal is just to get runners on the start line, because once they've crossed that start line, 99% of people are going to finish that race. So that's the important bit. So I get runners on the start line. So that's over the last decade, it's kind of changed. Back in 2012 onwards, it was only these overuse injuries. It was these training plans recommending people to run 5-6 times a week. It wasn't going to work for typical, the public. So we stripped that down, looked at more strength and conditioning, looked at more benchmarking. So I give people a benchmarking tool, the list of exercises they can do at home to highlight any areas of dysfunction or muscular weakness. And they can then have their own score, and they can use that as part of their supplementation of strength work during the week of their runs. So it was initially overuse injuries. It's then, to be honest, with social media, it then became a problem with mindset. It became comparison with what other people were doing, self-belief. So it's kind of shifted. And as that shifted, I've changed my approach. So I went into kind of looking at intrinsic biomechanics when it was all injury prevention. I then went down the NLP clinical hypnotherapy route because I wanted to understand how the mind worked. And up until 2019, we had a beautiful system in place with my charity runners. And then COVID hit. COVID's obviously hit, and it's just been a mess ever since, really. So yeah, my goal is to get runners on the start line, getting people to understand that it's purpose driven, but it's process fueled. It's getting people to embrace the process of showing up every day and looking at different areas that they can improve upon.
I love that. Yeah, so I love the idea of preformance as well. I think that sounds great. But so I guess your you're changing this from a road race to the catalyst to change someone's life for the better. And whether they arrive at that because they're trying to raise money for a cause dear to their heart, or whether it is to change their life, I guess, but the end result is the same. You're taking them down a path and they end up becoming, I guess, more than they were when they were on the start line.
Exactly. This is all a mindset piece. It is. There's a few shifted narratives that I throw at people. So I'll always start a presentation. I've had a few recently. I worked with Great Ormond Street, with Pancreatic Cancer UK. So I've had a couple of workshops in the last week. And one of the first things I talk about is that, and you said at the start, every great story, this is a story, needs a who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? It needs all different aspects to ask the question. And, it's telling people your story. It's being very vulnerable and telling people why you are doing an event. The most important thing is to tell people, connect with people, why this race is important to you. Mm-hmm. You tell the world you're there to do it for the charity. I'm doing it for this charity because it's so important to me. I lost my father, whatever the reason is, you tell the world that that's the reason why you're doing it. But between us, it's for yourself. The important thing is to understand that you're doing this for yourself, whether that's controlling your aspects of your life, whether you can't ever be a martyr to an event. It can't all be about someone else or something else. First and foremost, look after your own oxygen. I'm doing this for me. But tell the world you're doing it for someone else, because that's how you get fundraising in, and that's how you take the pressure off yourself as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we had a little chat about this before we went on air, because I spotted your ring there and I asked you what it was. But how much do you incorporate technology into your performance and into your assistance with the people you work with?
Very cautiously. I think very cautious with what I prescribe. I've quite a lot of eyeballs on me with what I do. And I think very cautious of a little bit of information is sometimes damaging. So I think nothing in life is more important than you learning about yourself. And that's why something like the London Marathon is so important, because you do find out lots about yourself, as you increase mileage and you have to play around with nutrition and niggles and strength and conditioning and sleep, and actually telling people some sacrifices where you can't go out because in the morning you need to get up for a run, these sort of things. Trackables are really, really important. There's definitely a place for them, but I think they govern our lives far too much. I think we put too much pressure on metrics of numbers for success. So I've used Whoop for a couple of years, got some great results with it. So I use that to dial in how I'm feeling every day, looking at my stress response. My heart rate variability is really important. My sleep quality I look at as well. But I'll never look at my scores until I've woken up fully. I'll never wake up and grab my phone and be a slave to what a phone's telling me. I'll wake up, ask myself, really, how am I feeling? If I then look at these numbers and it matches up, great. If it doesn't, I'm still going to go with myself. That's what I do. So Whoop's been great. I've managed to get my HRV up 20% this year, which is fab. I think in life it's important to know when to push and when to pull, when to go, when to stop. So that's been very helpful for me. I've looked at the Aura rings before. I don't know why I never went with Aura, but I saw these Ultra Human rings. So this is Ultra Human. I got it last week. I'm now playing around with it. It links through to a glucose monitor as well. So I'm going to start playing around, looking at numbers. There's so much data out there, and I think it gets confusing for general population. So I think to answer your question, very cautiously. I don't preach. If anyone asks me the question, I'll be very cautious with what I give back. And I'll normally have a one-to-one with them rather than, I normally park answers. If I don't feel safe to give an accurate answer, I'll leave it and have a one-to-one and talk it through a little bit. Because for some people, I don't think tracking is going to be helpful. It's almost counterproductive to their own health.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get a bit sucked into it. It becomes sort of all consuming, where a simple question like how do you feel becomes an ordeal while you open the app and find the right app and cross-reference it with another app, and then you make a decision that you feel okay, when actually we that should be an off the cuff comment, as we just tap into what's inside and say, yeah, I feel great, or I feel tired, or I feel stressed, or whatever it might be. So that's interesting to hear you say that. What is your vision for the Flawed Hero movement? I know you've got your first event coming up. is this a one-off?
No, I don't think so. We'll see. It's I've only launched it kind of last week, and it feels like, is it Kevin Costner, The Field of Dreams? If you make it, they'll come.
Yeah,
that's it. I think Wayne's World 2 have got a similar one as well with Wayne Stark. The Aboriginal man in the dream comes and says, if you build it, they'll come. I love the concept. This one is for the men. I just feel this one is for the men, but really, it doesn't really matter. For me, it's the principle of having some purpose in life. It's where you are doing an event. It doesn't have to run. It could be a cycle. It could be a trek. It could be anything. Pick an event, get some people together, put your own money down. I think fundraising is tough at the moment. It's an industry I've been involved with a long period of time, and getting people's money is very, very tough at the moment. I think it should be self-invested. I think we should invest in our own health. So my take on things is to pick an event, put your own money down for a charitable cause that you are focused on, getting a group of people together and being accountable for one another. That is it. So that's essentially what it is, and being a support community for that, and helping with trackables and other aspects of wellness. I think, I just feel this one has to be for the men. I love the women. I've got a beautiful wife, 13-year-old daughter now. It's for me, this one has to be for the men. I'm very passionate about it. I think this one is because I did the Jeff Stelling's prostate cancer march back in September with my wife, and it was from Wembley to Wickham, and actually held a big 6-foot cardboard cutout of my father who passed away 2 years ago. So I carried him along with me for the ride. What I loved about it was 26.2 miles, all walking, and it was just great to see men exercising together and just talking. It was just non-stop, people just talking and talking. There were tears. It was wonderful. And I think the beauty of exercise and the simplicity of walking is it takes away the boundaries of actually talking of how you're feeling. You're walking in a line, there's no eye contact, and people want to talk. So for me, I took that. I was like, that's powerful. I want a bit of that into what I'm doing. Tie it in with an event I know very, very well. Do the virtual London Marathon. Let's get 100 people doing the virtual London Marathon. It's going to be a walk run. I'm not after time. It's not about ego. It's not a sub 4. It's none of that. For me, it's about the story. It's about 100 men, savage men in the middle of the night. I think the visuals are great. Doing while their kids are asleep, while the world's asleep, getting the London Marathon, the most famous marathon, completed before the race even started. For me, that's cool.
That definitely. And is there? You mentioned obviously this is for the men, and your name, Flawed Hero Movement, is obviously all human beings are flawed, regardless, I guess, of who they are or what gender they are. But do you think it's different for men and women in terms of, I guess, admitting their flaws or opening up?
I think men find it harder to share. I think men share in the pub, a few beers, that's when they start, when they share things. I think we struggle with our feelings. I think we are built to be resilient. I think men are, don't talk about your feelings, be strong, be resilient. And yeah, we are resilient creatures. We're designed to be, and that's great. But I feel, particularly coming out of the last few years that we've all had, I think our ability to handle stress is significantly compromised. And I think our resilience is being tested. And I think I'm only seeing what, people that are reaching out to me on social media, certain friendship groups I'm seeing, I'm just feeling people are in tough places and they need outlets. So I think it comes normal to women. They talk more freely and openly about their problems. Men don't. But when you can break down some of those barriers with men, they will talk, and you see the change in people. So it's making it accept. And I'm happy to talk about my feelings, my backstory, all of it. There's nothing I won't touch upon, and it just helps break down those barriers. So whilst this one is for the men, I see it being completely inclusive. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter who the person, do mixed events, I work with disability charities, I work with all sorts of different people. It doesn't matter. It's just, we are flawed in whatever capacity that is. We're not broken though. We're definitely not broken. We're beautiful. We're unique. It's just, how can we improve different aspects of our health? Because I was thinking about this earlier. When I was in my 20s, it was, you go out a lot, you party a lot. The narrative would be, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. I remember these words coming out of my mouth, and that's not me anymore. I want to live a long time, but also a good time. I want my health to be number one, because, going back to the initial story, we're going to live a long time. Unfortunately, the likelihood is a lot of us will get cancer in our lifetime. I want to limit the chance of me getting that. We've got our genetics, we've got our, we are predisposed to things. However, how we choose to live our lifestyle, what we put in our bodies in terms of nutrition, but also in terms of how we talk to ourselves, who we let into our environment, that is what switches certain things on and off within us, and that's what causes the problems. So I'm here for a long time and a good time is what I'm after. But my good time's a little bit different now than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I love that. We had a guest on a little while ago, Dr. Andrew Winge from America, and he said something that was like so profound. He did admit it wasn't his, although he couldn't remember where he got it from. But it was, if you want to be good at 80, you can't afford to be mediocre at 50. And I was like, wow, that is a powerful statement. Because how many of us, especially in our 20s, early 30s perhaps, we sort of take ourselves for granted. We think we're indestructible, we do whatever we want. You haven't thought about your health span or your lifespan yet. But then when it dawns on us, and I think generally it dawns on us all in our 30s, you've only really got until you're 50 when you can still generate and build significant muscle, and we can still improve our health dramatically. After that, it gets harder. So we really want to take advantage of these middle years, or young middle years, or whatever you want to call it, to become the best version of ourselves. So, and I see that with what you're trying to do. I think it's incredible.
No, I love that. Thank you, Ross. I think I'm going a different direction now, but I went on a breathing workshop at the weekend. It was fab, and I've got massively into my breathing in the last kind of 5 or 6 years. I had a breathing coach years ago, and that fascinated me, how you can change your psychology through changing your physiology. And it's opened my eyes up a lot more in terms of handling stress. And I've got various protocols that I work with on clients in terms of how to measure stress, people, how they handle stress within a safe exercise environment, and how that translates to out in the real world. But I was at a breathing workshop, and it's, I put a post up yesterday, and, I was there when my daughter took her first breaths, I was there when my father passed away. I saw his last breaths come out of him, and my mother's years ago. We've only got so many breaths in life, right? There's only so many of these that we've got, and are we going to maximize them or not? Life is a gift; it's a precious, and it goes like that. I just feel there's things that aren't in our control, but there's also a lot in our control, and I think we all need to take responsibility for our own health, and not be so reactive when there's a problem. I think we're very reactive. I've got this problem, I've got this pain, I better go and see someone. Well, good luck with that. And you're right, as you get older, those pains come quicker, that's for sure. Recovery is significantly compromised. And what you guys do are fab. I've been through your testing and loved it. It's incredibly important. And I think having an awareness is so important. Otherwise, you don't know what you're doing. So all the tech in the world is great, but unless you've got a starting point, where are you going to go with everything?
Yeah. You've got that baseline, I guess, to start from, and then you go from there. You mentioned a couple of times sort of about environment and things, and head spinning in all sorts of different directions now. But if we go back to sort of who your target audience is, this flawed movement, it's a man admitting that perhaps they need help, and they reach out to yourself or anyone who can help them, someone that resonates, and they go on this new path. And I think the environment has changed a lot. If we think about the last 100 years, I read a fascinating statistic the other day that says even if you go back 30 years, the average man had 6 close confidants, male confidants. So there was a little mini tribe. Now it's something scary, like 25% of young men don't have one friend or any friends. Like, it's scary. But life's changed. Like 100 years ago, we all worked in the fields. 25 years ago, we still had fairly manual jobs. Now we're working at home on Zoom. We have less people around us, so our environment's changed. So I think that has affected resilience, perhaps, as well. You mentioned resilience earlier, and undoubtedly, it must have had an effect on men, women, humanity. We've changed at such a rapid pace, and I've kind of lost my train of thought here. I don't quite know where I'm going, but so many things that we've talked about already, I think, are important.
I think so too. I think tech has changed a lot as well. I think we struggle to have proper connections with people because all we see is 2 dimensions. Now we're on here on a 2-dimensional conversation. We are heavily filtering, social media of our best bits, and there's no depth to conversation anymore. It's an effort to make effort to see people now. It's a nightmare to get the trains. Everything seems more tiring and difficult to get the connection. So if we are governed by 2-dimensional or just WhatsApp or the rest, then where do you go with that? For me, I want depth of conversation. I want vulnerability, honesty, not, hey, how are you? I'm good. You? I've had that. It turns me off. I want deeper relationships. I want to be able to communicate and be honesty and no judgment, but for people to open up and show some depth, because life is tricky. Life is tough. Life is really tough at the moment. There's always people that have it worse off than you, but I think life is tough and we do need relationships. It's super important. It's one of the vital needs in life, right? Is to have the community and relationships. And if we're struggling to get them, where's that going to go? So I guess part of this community Flawed Hero movement I'm looking to create or see where it goes is about that. It's a group of men initially, but anyone just talking, just getting together and talking. And I think what the great thing with exercise is it breaks those barriers and boundaries. So when you're tired or you're doing something, the barriers go quite quickly.
Yeah. I guess if we carry on the sort of vein that we're on, if you go back millennia, the guys were all out in a tribe exercising because they were hunting some woolly mammoth or something like that, so they had that, I guess, camaraderie. They're in a tribe, they were exercising, they were tired, they were communicating, and then the ladies were perhaps at home nesting and doing those different things. So perhaps inherently a lot of the things you're almost trying to bring back happened anyway because of our environment. And as you say, as things have become 2D, we've just lost such an important part of what's required for us to be healthy.
So what's the answer, Ross? Yeah, it's tricky. It's unfortunately technology is we're governed by it with teams of people far smarter than you and I. So phones don't help us in that regard. Phones, it takes us away from proper connection. It does the opposite. We're so well connected, we're so disconnected at the same time. It is quite simple. Go back a millennia, like you said, very simple, right? You get up, you probably sleep quite well, you walk, chat to your friends, you eat, you hunt, you sleep, you spend time with your partner, raise your families. It's quite simple and easy. Whereas now it's just not. It's just this. We are so dialed into tech. We don't allow ourselves to power down. I think we're always on the go, and that's the problem. Yeah. Read some of the books with the importance of sleep, or we're just not sleeping properly. Which is why I do track my sleep a lot. I track it every single day. But particularly if I'm working towards an event, if I'm running a marathon or a particular event, I will use that massively just to see where I'm at. But when I'm not, it comes off. I'll wear this for a month now over Christmas and see where I'm at. I'm then taking a break from it. I'm not going to be governed for the rest of my life with technology. I'm not going to have anxiety of it not being charged. If it's on, great, and I'll use it for that reason. If I'm not, I'm just going to trust myself.
Yeah, no, I love that. So there's somebody watching this and they're thinking, I get behind it. It resonates with me. The Flawed Hero the movement sounds amazing, and the idea of finishing a virtual London Marathon before it's even started in the dark, as you say, when your kids are sleeping, that's a powerful notion. But I guess there's going to be some people watching this thinking, I've never run a marathon. That's a really long way. Can I do it? Am I set myself up for failure? Like, what are you going to tell those people?
99% of people, 100% of people that start on the London Marathon physically on that start line think they haven't done enough. The reality is, whoever's watching this, 99% of them, I could go around the house now and do 26.2 miles in under 8 hours. That's fact. We've got 130 odd days until the event. That's the easy bit. It's going to be tiring. It's the middle of the night. It's exhausting. I get all those things. That is the easy bit. The hard bit is navigating life. but it's embracing the journey of showing up every day and actually reaching out and going, okay, so tell me about my nutrition. Yeah, I really would like to tidy that up. How do I do that? Talk to me about sleep. If we can give tools between now and then, there's no question that they're going to be better showing up individuals and they can do the event better. So 26.2 miles is more than doable. If we have to power walk it, we'll power walk it. It's not about that. It's how we tell the story. So it's for people watching this that want to sign up. I want those people to think that they can't do it yet, because they can. Because I've done it for thousands of people, thousands and thousands of people. What I love about the virtual, it takes away the high fundraising, it takes away the time element, and it takes away the expectations of others. And I think we put a lot of pressure on people watching us that we have to run the whole London Marathon thing. The reality is the majority of people will walk at some point.
Yeah.
So I encourage a lot of people to run the London Marathon anyway. But what we're going to be doing is, even if people have to power walk the whole thing, that's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because no one that will have a clue how long you've taken, because all they're going to see is what you choose to put up there. And that's you being a savage in the middle of the night, you with a medal around your neck, and you telling the story that you've completed it before the elites have even started that race. That's cool. So story is everything. I want people to get in touch and just say, I'm in. I'm doing this. Like, I'm in fully, because the reality is we could do it this afternoon. You pick me anyone, I could get someone doing it this afternoon.
Yeah,
that's between us. The reality is, the reality is it's much easier than you think it is. Walking's tough. I said marching it in September was tough. There's so much time to train for this. The majority of people will do a 16-week training plan. They will do from January. We haven't got the pressures of time. We haven't got the pressures of massive fundraising. We haven't got the pressures of other bits and pieces. I'm taking all that stress away. I don't want this to be a stressful environment. I want this to be enjoyable, to give people tools for life. And like you said earlier, this doesn't stop on the 21st of April. I want that to be when they've done it, the start line for what's next. I love that. That's great. What am I going to do next? And I think that's the puzzle that people get wrong. It's they do an event and they get the post-event blues, or they look back at themselves with pride and they're like, that's me done now. Where's the momentum? So my view is to get as many men as possible, finish that race and go, right, what's next? Who fancies doing the 3 peaks? Who fancies doing the Ride London? Who fancies this? Anyone in? Yeah, that's a bit of me. I'll do that with you. Also, my friend wants to do that as well. So all I want is pockets of communities of people doing different events for charity, for themselves as well.
Love it. And in the charity is that there's one single charity, or can someone do it for their own?
There's 2. So there's a buy-in. It's £500 buy-in. We all hate talking about money. It's split between 2 charities. That's it. And that's everything. If people have a cause that's important to them, 100% I'll help them with that. Just Giving page. Do that. Change the lives of others through fundraising. It's really important. But this is full support. And again, by getting involved, it's going to unlock a lot of good stuff for men. I'm working with some really good people. You guys are fab. Lots of good people to help support this movement of men, because I think it's really, really important. So it's the field of dreams stuff. Yeah.
How do people reach out to you? How do they sign up?
There's an event. I've managed the first time in my life to do an Eventbrite. So I've got one of those. They can email me. I'm on @Phil Roberton. Probably the easiest thing is on Instagram, @Phil Roberton, no S, as I explained 33 minutes ago. @Phil Roberton. There's an Eventbrite. Just message me, sign up, get involved, and I'll tell you some other bits that will unlock. But it's the cheapest, most cost-effective, most supported way anyone's going to get a London Marathon finishers medal. That's it. There's no question.
Wow. How many people have signed up so far?
I've got 17 so far.
Excellent. So you're well on there.
They've committed differently, but I've 17 so far. But I'm confident. Hundreds, a lot of guys, but I'd rather aim and not hit it than not. So I'm optimistic. Just the more the merrier. I just want people doing something pretty special. And the first one's always the best. Right? I've spoken to the London Marathon for the medals. There's other things I'm working on. It's just buying into this and being part of it, seeing it as not just one event. This is a process thing. It's how can I get control of my life? How can I show up better? How can I sleep better? How can I be a better version of me? A better parent, a better father, a better friend? how can I grow? And that's what it's about. How can I grow best in the next 130 odd days?
I love that. Absolutely brilliant. Well, Phil, it's been an absolute pleasure. Loved the conversation. I wish you all the best with the Flawed Hero Movement. It sounds fantastic. We're going to get this out and share this with all of our connections, and hopefully we get to 100 in a very short space of time.
Thank you so much. No, Ross, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
No worries. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Alphagenix Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss next week's episode. For more resources on Alphagenix and men's health, visit alphagenix.co.uk. Until next time.